Welcome back. You're watching a CNBC TV 18 special with the Food Processing Minister, Ms. Harsimrat Kaur Badal. Just a few more things then, ma'am. One of the things you said, like, soon after taking charge, and you raised concerns also, was of regulatory overreach. And you talked about, we should not have a situation where there's like Inspector Raj. It should be more like regulation Raj. I think that's what you said. Registration Raj.
Self-regulation.
Self-regulation.
Yeah.
So in that regard, what are the steps your ministry has taken?
See, the other thing I found when I took over, that this food processing had a lot of potential, and one of the biggest hiccups and roadblocks that they were facing, that the rules in our country was that every time you make anything new, any new product, or even if you decide to add an extra thing to an old product, it all has to go through product approval all over again through FSSAI, and each and every product needs approval. Now in this huge country where how many flavors of lassi and how many flavors of juice and what types of cakes and biscuits and you name it, and it's there. And there's one FSI giving approval to all this. Obviously, it was taking forever.
Right.
So these long delays which was hampering the growth of the industry. And then, of course, there came an episode where it all went into litigation. So FSI totally stopped giving any kind of approval. So everything came to a halt. I have been pushing that the systems, if we are talking, the Prime Minister talks about Make in India. So if people want food processing, want to come and make in India, because when I'd go abroad, these are the concerns that people would raise, that we want to come to India. But what about your regulations? I mean, our budgets go haywire, planning goes here, because we don't know when we'll get the approval to launch it. Sometimes it runs into years as well. So I wanted that, we should have systems which are harmonious as to the way it's being done in the rest of the world.
Like how is it being done, ma'am?
There are codex standards which are followed in America. There's the standard the way it's followed in the EU. There's a different standard that is followed. But what they do is, it's not product by product approval. They have a list of ingredients which are approved. And if you're using those approved ingredients, you can make whatever you want out of that and launch your product. So, it takes away that huge problem of approving every product after checking every ingredient in it, and you can concentrate your energies on ensuring that what's in the market is, at the end of the day, what's selling in the Kiryana shop or in the roadside fellow who's selling something, or those mithai shops. There's no one's there to actually look at what actually is selling over there.
But it's only when it comes to packaged products,
food, which are anywhere an industry which has its name and reputation to take care of. They are anyway self-regulating and ensuring, because most of these are multinational companies who have a brand and who have an image. So we're concentrating more on, every time maybe a Kellogg's wants to pick up a new flavor, they have to go there, and Kellogg's is not going to put something and spoil that Kellogg name kind of a thing. So
have you suggested to Health Ministry?
So yes, so this took almost a year of conversations and on many meetings, but good news at the end of the day, that all this which had been languishing since the last many years, eventually by December, FSSAI, who had only 375 approved ingredients, have from 375 gone to 8,000, and are shortly going to be going about 12,000 ingredients are going to be approved, which are all harmonized.
By December?
By last December it was done. 8,000 ingredients were uploaded on their website. Okay. And I think another 4,000, there were some discussions which are going on. The scientific panel is looking. So we will have 12,000 ingredients which have been harmonized internationally, the way it's done in Codex and in the other countries. So in the same way, like you do not need product by product approval there, now here in India as well, if you're using any of those 8,000 approved ingredients, you do not need to go in for separate product approval. So which means all our proprietary foods, because a samosa is made in one way in Punjab and maybe another way somewhere else.
So you don't need a double testing.
Absolutely. But the other thing, what I have been insisting on, what FSI needs to actually work on, is to set down the protocols for testing. If we had the Maggi episode, why was it there? Because a lab in UP, which had its own kinds of instruments and its own ways of testing, and then something else in another state and another state, everybody was doing their testing in their own way. And as a food processor or as a brand, I needed to know that tomorrow if my product needs to be tested, these are the steps that are going to be followed, and this is what is acceptable and this is what is not. Whereas today there's no protocol for testing in our country. So this is why I said this is giving rise to this Inspector Raj, because I had cases where the inspectors were just calling up a big brand and saying that, we've walked into the shop and seen that this of y'all not okay, I'm going to do a press conference. Now for that brand, is their image and its hard-earned work gone down the drain, because you have then actually he's looking for probably.
But are we moving now, ma'am, more towards a protocol-based, like standardizing?
I think that is because, see, FSI comes under the health ministry, doesn't come under me.
Would you write to them? Would you?
Oh, I've been talking to them. I mean, my first thing was to get this product approval over and done with.
So that's done.
Though that's done, they've got still 4,000 more which they are working on. Then there are other things like labeling to be made simpler, so that when people import something, so these little things. But I think simultaneously they are looking at the protocol things also, which I have suggested to FSI that we have an institute, NIFTM, where there are MTech and BTech students, PhD students and scientists. We're setting up a lab. Why don't we partner with FSCI, and this lab works with them to make these protocols and become kind of a lab which actually sets the standard. So this is something that I've spoken to the chairman about. I hope it...
I know this does not directly come under your domain, ma'am, but since you touched upon it, I really want your opinion on this, the fact that could the Maggi matter have been dealt differently?
Yes.
Give us an honest answer, ma'am.
Yes, of course it could have, because I think there is no doubt whatever happened anywhere in the world, in the food sector I go, everybody talks about it. And it did damage brand India for make in India. So of course it could have been handled much better, and it was a result of there being no protocols. That was the reason that it was being tested in one lab, found okay, and tested in another lab, not found okay, and this entire fiasco happened. But I think, like, out of every bad thing that happens, some good comes out. The good was that it came into focus and it is being improved upon. So
finally then, ma'am, you've managed to revitalize the food park scheme, and so how many more do we see coming up? I think because some are suggesting you would probably be inaugurating one in West Bengal. That's a state that I come from, so why don't you tell me a little bit more about it?
So this was in the President's constituency, His Excellency Pranab Mukherjee, and I think it was probably started way back in 2010, if not before that, one of the first few parks that was sanctioned, maybe even in 2008 if I recall correctly. And of course, like I said, each and every of those 40 parks, out of the 2 which got operational, which the UPA government did, the scheme was launched in 2008. And when we took over in 2014, there were just 2 parks. One was Patanjali, Baba Ramdev, who's done a brilliant job on his own. So I don't think any credit can be given to the ministry besides the fact that they gave them a subsidy, because he set up many parks. And so I would actually say in reality just 1 out of the 42 had become operational. So just like this Jangipur park, there were lots of issues with the state government, there were issues with the promoters. I have regular meetings every 3 months to check the benchmarks. If they're having issues with the state government, I write to the state government, I send my officers to the state to speak to their officers. If they're having other issues like partners or promoters running away, we try and tie that up. Basically, the ministry is working like a single window system. If someone wants to tie up, whether it's internationally or nationally or even in the state having issues, we try and be that nodal agency to sort out the issues, because my dream is that these out of 42, the 4-5 more have pulled out or got cancelled because they are going too slow, and this government has no time for slow coaches. So out of the 37 which are in progress, my dream is that they have a time of 30 months to become operational, and before 30 months, before I demit office, in those 30 months I want my 42 parks up and working and making a difference on the ground, because the 8 which are functional are showing that farmers are benefiting, and the industry will eventually, because like I said, when the wastages get converted and the availability becomes more, the consumers will also benefit. So it's one of the best employment generators is the food processing industry. What makes me really happy is that women get jobs in large numbers in all these food parks. So that's another personal reason for me to push things through, because I work for women empowerment anyway. The cold chain scheme was already a very popular scheme, doing very well. I'm very happy that the government has just sanctioned 100 more cold chains, because even today the cold chain capacity of what is required, there is a huge gap as to what is available, and most of what is available in cold storages is only for potatoes. There are lots of other things. So we're going to be sanctioning 100 new cold chains. We're going to be sanctioning almost 250 of these cluster little mini parks, and of course we've got...
So lots of things to look forward to from this ministry.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for your time. I wish you all the luck for your future endeavours.
Thank you so much.
That was Harsimrat Kaur Badal in conversation with me, laying out some of the achievements of her ministry. Thank you so very much for watching the CNBC TV 18 special. Until next time, goodbye.